RJ, thank you for joining me on our Thought Leader Spotlight series. I'm your host, Matt Camp, head of partnerships for DealMachine. On these, we really like to shine a spotlight on industry experts like yourself to really hear your inspiring stories and educate our audience on lessons that you've learned and really how you see the world evolving. So today, really excited to welcome on our friend, rjpepino. You've been involved as an investor since 2009 yourself. You're really in the central Ohio area. I know you've bought, renovated, sold over 1,000 properties with your business partner since 2012, and have over 100 in your portfolio currently with 100K plus in monthly cash flow coming from that. And then outside of that, you've even raised 20 million plus from banks, private parties. So you have a variety of things we can touch on today. Excited to ask you about all that stuff. You're also a really great educator. Like, I love the stuff you're putting out with, you've got your courses, your networking group, YouTube, IG, over 500,000 followers on TikTok. So you've got a lot going on, man. But I know people can connect with you on risewiththecream.com, and you've got that new fundamentals in investing course coming out. So make sure to keep an eye on that. But welcome on, RJ.
Thanks for having me, Matt. It's good to finally put a, what did they say? Name to the face, because I've seen you in emails and some YouTube episodes, but it was good to finally connect with you at CG.
For sure.
Thank you for having me on here. It's an honor.
Yeah, excited, man. And I mean, to start, let's dig in a little bit on your background. Like, I know I read that bio there, but can you talk more about your investing journey and kind of how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, I was one of the probably millions of people there's millions of people in real estate investing who read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, who went to the 3-day event. And I was one of those, young investors who saw somebody on stage saying, "Hey, I made this amount of money real estate investing." And I'm like, well, left that seminar thinking, if that guy could do it, so can I. Been very self-motivated kind of growing up, because I've been in, I played soccer and tennis and excelled really at tennis, and actually went to college, to be honest with you. I went to college. I had no idea that real estate investing was even a thing until I read that book, and it changed my mindset on money, business, and just like a better life. Because I was always like looking for the next, and I had worked in sales right out of college. Tennis was great. It got me the education, my degree, and I really wanted to make a lot of money. And I got into sales, and sales led me into this mindset of like, how do I make more money and get to the next level? And then I read the book, which then led me down this path of being an entrepreneur, specifically in real estate. I was like looking for something, and then I found it, basically. It's my story. I started by getting into a house that I should have never bought. So I started backwards, in a sense, because a lot of what I teach now is, if you're going to, get started, you want to learn the fundamentals. You want to learn how to find a, good deal, off-market deal, right? How to negotiate the deal, what to say, how to get your deal if you're going to do wholesaling in front of other investors. Like, those are the fundamentals. I went into real estate investing head first, like, just, I'm going to do a rehab house. I have no idea how I'm going to do this, but I know that if I focus and treat it like how I did in my past accomplishments, I'm going to be successful. Well, turns out you need to know how to manage rehab and manage contractors, or have somewhat of an understanding. So it was a lesson. So my first house, I failed. I bought it wrong. I knew that, and the guy that was going to show me how to do all of this, he kind of disappeared, but I knew that there was something else. So what did I do? I went and went to YouTube. I went to these like forums on Bigger Pockets, and I stumbled upon a mentor, online mentor, who exposed me to this whole thing of wholesaling, how to flip properties without even rehabbing it, without your credit, without cash. I'm like, okay, what's this guy? So I ended up getting this guy's course, and he showed me basically how to market to motivated sellers on a shoestring budget. So I was one of those guys that got the big fat markers, got the 18 by 24 chloroplast signs, and just went all around. I'm in Ohio and 4 different markets, but my main market back then is Columbus. And I was putting out like 100 bandit signs every week. And that lasted several months until, the city was actually calling me and letting me know, like, hey, you got to take your signs down, man. You're plastering them out in the right of way. And I was blaming it on my marketing guy. So I scaled it back a little bit, got a little bit smarter with where I was putting these signs, still doing 100 a week, but I wasn't putting them in areas where the right of way was kind of, their thing of like, hey, you're going to get fined if you did this. I actually got fined before, but so I started wholesaling back in 2009, and it took me 6 months to do my deal, my first deal, which is actually not too far away from where I'm at right now. But that's how I got my start, man. I went out there and took action on some of the little bit of knowledge that I had. And that I've always been good. And it's been a good thing and a bad thing. Like with little knowledge, I bought that first house, failed at the rehab. But with this other little bit of knowledge, which I purchased this guy's ebook and did some one-on-one mentoring with him, but it wasn't one-on-one mentoring. I was talking to a VA, I think. So I was able to put together my first deal I made, $30,000 that I had to split with a local guy, and who actually showed me the ropes a little bit better than the online guy. But I did my first deal, and after my first deal, I'm like, okay, I knew I could do this, and I could scale this into something a little bit bigger. And so that's my first deal, just gave me that confidence that I can do this, right? Mm-hmm. And then from there, I started to learn, like, I read E-Myth, like how to document your systems, how to create a team. There's different books that I read. And I mean, back then it was me, and I had 2 or 3 VAs, and that was it. Yeah. I had a different partnership with another investor in town, but we were just doing some like JV wholesale deals together. And then that kind of fizzled away. And in 2012, I was on this path of like, I found out that the best deals that I was wholesaling were the ones I should have been keeping. And it led me down to this path of like, I got to raise private capital, because that next level is to keep these, to get that monthly cash flow coming in. And I noticed that the wholesaling income would come in waves, I have 2 or 3 good months, and then like a very slow 4th month. And so I'm like, all right, how do I keep this consistent? It's buying rental properties. Mm-hmm. In 2012, I partnered up with Dave Payerchin, my business partner to this day. And we started buying up homes, and a question that I get a lot, Matt, is like, how did you start buying homes? How did you raise the money? How did you have the capital? Did you wholesale houses and then get that capital to go buy the we raised private capital. Private money is one of the keys to success. And 2012, the market was prime for Dave and I to buy these rentals for under, gosh, man, we were buying properties for under 30K and renting them out for like 700, 800 a month. Wow. And, some people are like, where the hell are you buying? Where are you really looking for these houses? Like, how do you find these houses? Right. It comes down to the same principles that that got me my first deal. It's finding off market properties. It's driving the neighborhoods. Like, I'm driving the neighborhood right now, and there's a vacant house next to a duplex that we own. So what did I do? I put it right into the freaking DealMachine app, and now it's in our system to be processed and skip traced and all that stuff. So that now they're cold callers, because now we have a team of cold callers going out. But that's, from 2012 until now, we had a turnkey company. So we were selling rentals, because as you build this business, you have to have cash coming in now. And we had to flip to kind of keep the lights on as we built the rental portfolio. And so that's what we did. We sold the ones that were technically not fitting our business model, not or fitting our buy and hold model. And for a while there, it was good. We were flipping, 150, 200 homes a year, and doing a flipping business was amazing. And we added rentals a little bit here and there, but we were always kind of stuck in that. We would have 80, then we would sell 20, then we'd have 60, then we'd build up to 80s. Like 60 to 80 is kind of like where we're running into the ceiling. And we noticed that we were selling our best deals. We should have kept on to this. Best deals were selling turnkey, right? And we made that shift in 18 to just say, hey, look, we're going to focus on our portfolio. We've set some kind of benchmarks of, how many units we want to hold, how much cash flow we want monthly. Mm-hmm. And so from 2008 until now, we're completely a buy and hold company. For the properties that just don't fit our model, we're going to three things. We're going to either sell it wholesale. We're going to either, sell it wholesale without doing anything to it, or take it down and do like a light clean out, paint, and then we'll put it on the market. That's like a wholesale deal. Mm-hmm. I'm sure a lot of your audience knows what that is. And if not, then we're going to try and do something creative. Maybe we could take it down on owner financing. Maybe we could do it subject to. And then lastly, if it doesn't fit any of that, maybe we could turn it into a listing, a realtor listing. So every lead that comes into our pipeline, Matt, we're looking at ways to monetize it. Mm-hmm. It's not going to fit our model, it fits somebody else's model.
Yeah.
So we've seen some really good success with trying to monetize every single marketing spend that we put out there.
That's great. Yeah. I think you, it's funny hearing your background. I think there's a lot of people in our audience that can put themselves in your shoes from that person, or can see a little bit of their own path and what you went through. Like, so many of our audience have read Rich Dad Poor Dad. They're getting involved with Bigger Pockets forums. They might even have a sales background. I play tennis. Like, there's even some things that are common there. I love that you touched on how you transitioned from just consuming information to these small actions that set you up for these wins, right? That help you build momentum and learn and test and get that feedback loop and iterate and continue to do that. But I think those small actions, which I know that you've talked about those on social before as rough draft moves. I love that term. Can you maybe talk to like why that's so important? What holds people back? What those initial rough draft moves should be for new investors, like, that kind of playbook, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I coined that term, but I actually got it from another investor in Milwaukee who I haven't seen him on social lately, so hopefully he's doing okay. But that guy's name is Nick Ruiz, so I can't take all glory for that. But what Fair. Rough draft moves are is basically like, look, like what happens is that we love to consume knowledge. We all do. We're reading articles on social media. We're watching videos. Like, knowledge is out there now, free knowledge now. Like, you can go on YouTube and learn a strategy to make $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 for free. But what holds us back is actually putting that knowledge into action. So we got all this knowledge that we're learning, and we think that we need to be completely perfect, when the best actually, the best thing that you could do with knowledge is put it into action to actually learn it, and not just think, oh, okay, I'm going to wait until the most perfect time to pick up the phone and call a motivated seller. I need to be ready. I need to have my comps put out. That's not the case. It's taking a small little action step, like pick up the phone call, and you don't need to like have all of this put together in place. You just need to like talk to them as if you were talking to a friend to see how you could help them. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you're just problem solving. They're going to have a problem. If they don't have a problem, you probably don't have a motivated seller on the line. It's okay. Let's move on to the next lead that is motivated, that needs to have your phone call. A lot of times we have this like thing that happens. It's like, we think it's like, it needs to be super perfect. A lot of that's like all in your head, and it comes from like having a big ego. and not coming from a place of like, how can I really help this person? You know, there's a reason why they called you, or you called them and said, yeah, I'm interested in selling this house. And, you know, there's a reason there. There's motivation. It's your job to uncover that. You don't need to have it all perfect. I certainly am not perfect. I've just been able to take what I've learned, took action. And if I was good at it, great. If I failed at it, then it was a lesson. You know, it was a lesson. Then I'm like, okay, so that wasn't the best approach. So let me try it at this route, you know? So that's what basically a rough draft move is. It's like, you got to take some of that knowledge that you've just acquired. So for example, like, you know, this house that's sitting there vacant, it's got the orange sticker. You know, if I didn't have tools that I have now, DealMachine's great. You know, my next step is to find out who the freaking owner is so that I can have a conversation with that owner. Whether if I'm going to door knock, find out where he or she lives, and go and have a conversation with them, or find out where their phone number is so that I can call them, find out where their address is so I can write them a letter. Those are like small action steps that can lead to really big results, you know? But if I sit there and I'm like sitting in my car, I'm like, oh man, I need to like practice what I'm going to say. And like, you know, it's going to take you forever, and you're going to get in your own head, and it's going to paralyze you. That's really what that whole thing of analysis paralysis is. It's like you're in your head too much, instead of like focusing on how you can serve that person who needs your help, sitting there vacant. When they have this yellow, it's actually orange now. So orange sticker, it means your property is a nuisance. So you're getting letters from the city, and you're probably getting something from the environmental court saying you need to get this house in order, because, you know. So anyways, that's what I mean by that, like taking action on what you know. When you do that, you're actually going to learn more. You know, when you're actually taking action on what you learn and you're putting it into, you know, action, then you're actually going to learn what it is a lot better than just like, you know, how we like read, we read a lot of books. I like to listen. I'm an audio guy.
Me too.
I take notes in my iPhone, because my iPhone's right there readily available, right? So I have my notes. My notes are like all this. Then I review it. I'm like, I think I can share that with somebody that I learned. Then it becomes like a thing that you actually absorb better. You know what I'm saying? So I'm big in podcasts as you are, Matt, and anything that I learned that day is something that I can share with like either my team, you know, my wife, my family, like something that I'm going to share to them. Then it's like, wow, I understand it now. You know what I mean? So you don't have to have it all figured out, guys. Like, you see a lot of people on social media, and it's all this like perception thing. They don't have it figured out. I don't have it all figured out. I'm being honest with you. I don't. You know, I still learn to this very day. I still learn something new, and it's my ability to implement what I learned fast, so that I could adjust if that approach didn't work. It's the only reason why I am where I am today, and I'm just getting started. Honestly, I've been in this business for a long time, and I'm still learning lessons, and I'm still adjusting, and I'm in it for the long haul. I'm not going anywhere. It's a journey, and I'm learning lessons even today.
Well, I think that puts you in the right mindset too, you know, like that puts you that when you talk about problem solving and you talk about helping others and all of that, you're that's a long-term mindset where you're there for the long-term game. And I think, I mean, the best salespeople, that's what they're doing. They're not selling you something. They're trying to solve your problem and helping you understand if they can be this or not. So I think taking that mindset to anything you're doing there, you know, it's going to give you the long-term win for sure. With the so when you talk about those kind of like, you know, actionable rough draft actions that you can start with, for us, we talk about driving for dollars as one of those ways that's extremely low that you can just literally, I mean, take out the DealMachine app and start just get in your car, or even you can walk or bike or whatever you're doing, or looking around your neighborhood for those fixer upper properties, right? Can you educate our audience on, and you've talked about BRRRR quite a bit, like the BRRRR method. Many of our audience is familiar with that, but could you kind of give people a framework around that and how you think about, finding the lead, acquiring that property, fixing it up, thinking through kind of the full process, and maybe even use a real life example of how you've done that yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Our company does, my team are looking for every day. They're looking for opportunities where we can buy something with private money, buy, renovate, then rent it. And then we go to local banks and refinance properties. Like, for example, this property, this duplex here I'm looking at is one that's already been financed. So when we are going through our underwriting process, right, when a deal comes through the pipeline, whether it's driving for dollars, whether it's cold calling, we got it from a text lead, a ringless voicemail lead, all the number of ways that we get leads coming into our pipeline. Our main goal is, how can we hang on to this property? Okay. And the shift with how we have structured our deals is so that when we buy a property, we're actually getting paid to buy the property. So for example, this duplex, we're looking at what it's worth. And then we're also looking at what the rents are going to be. And then we also look at the area. So what it's worth. So, in this particular pocket, there's a lot of higher end rehabs going on, renovations, and the comps have definitely, been on the rise here. This is probably one of the pockets of Columbus where there's north of 15% appreciation, which is unheard of. But because the market's where it's at, that, the supply and demand, there's more demand than there is supply. The values get pushed up. This particular duplex, when we bought it initially, I think we bought it in 2016. Comps in this area were probably like 180, 200. Well, now it's like 350. So really, it's worth a lot more, and we're getting a ton of calls actually on this duplex because our people are skip tracing us. So I get the phone calls now. But what we look at is if we can be all in on this particular property, purchase and rehab, 75% or 70%. Obviously, when the pandemic hit, we had a little bit more of a conservative approach. So we've stuck with that 70 to 75%, depending on the area. This area, we're okay with 75%. So we were looking to be, if the after repair value is 200 on this, just even numbers, we're looking to be all in on this property, meaning buy it and renovate it for about $150,000 because it's 75% of 200, right? Now, if we cannot meet that, then we're going to look at it from another exit strategy. Can we sell it on the market right now? Is this in demand? What else is on the market in this area? Can we wholesale it? Because this particular property, we know that we spend this amount every month on marketing dollars. So how do we take this opportunity? Because there's a motivated seller. They want to sell it. But do the numbers fit our buy, the cash out refi strategy is what we call it. It's been coined BRRRR. Thank you, Brandon. We love you. Can we turn this into rental? We also now have incorporated more Airbnb into our mix. So we're looking at this particular property. When I came here today, will it be a good strategy to do a little bit more in renovations instead of, putting just regular rental grade countertops, maybe put granite and, do a little bit more high-end finishes here and there so that maybe we can do an Airbnb. I think this particular pocket though, probably in the next, we'll see in the next year and see if it's a better pocket right now. It's still kind of transitioning, but we want to be all in 75% of the after repair value so that we can actually use the BRRRR model, because we are going to a local bank. They're going to get it appraised, and we can pay back our private lenders and then keep this for the long term. Now, if we're going to do this as we're going to turn this into like an Airbnb property, we're still going to underwrite it as if we were going to rent it out long term. That's one thing that I, highly suggest your audience does, is still kind of underwrite it as if you had to switch strategies, because who knows what could happen. There might be another pandemic and then we shut it down and no one can do Airbnb anymore. No one can travel. You know what I mean? Now, that's why we like to be just conservative with our underwriting, so that if we had to switch up strategies, we have more exit strategies. So the cash out refi strategies are number one strategy going into when a property comes into our pipeline, because that's our business model. We're trying to hang on to these. If it doesn't, though, we're going to look at, maybe can we sell it? Maybe if it's over that 75%, maybe we can do a little bit more that rehab and then sell it to somebody that wants to either buy this as an investment property, if it's a duplex, or somebody maybe wants to do the house hacking strategy, or if it was a house, somebody wants to live in it. Yeah. So that's how we kind of look at deals. Like how can we make money off of this lead that came in and take it down, either as a buy and hold or the other exit strategy is what I was talking about.
Yeah. And when we were kind of going through that evaluation process, obviously you have your fundamentals course that's coming out here relatively soon. I know you also have that private lending course that you guys have done.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going the buy and hold route, cash out refinance strategy, anything around that. Obviously that private money is going to be, a big factor in that. Can you kind of talk through even why you guys created that course? What are the needs that you see there that maybe some mistakes people make in that space that you guys can help them with, or that any tips you can share around really kind of private money lending?
Yeah, absolutely. So we created this course basically because we were getting hit up a ton on hey, they would see us on social media going over like closings, and we were doing it because we wanted to attract private lenders actually. And so out of a ton of questions, DMs and questions about hey, can you show me how you do that? How did you structure your private money? What kind of paperwork did you use? How do you find deals? And these were coming up over and over and over again. And we really have a way to kind of do anything with that. It's just I read this book, and then I also got mentoring, and then we're like, well, do you mentor? This was going on for a long time. And so finally, in the last couple of years, Dave and I decided, look, why don't we do a coaching community, which we have now. And for those that want, access to us on a regular basis, daily basis, we have this coaching community where we show you how to basically get started in this business, how to set up your systems and all that, and get your first deal wholesaling, right? Mm-hmm. And then as you do that in that community, and you want to kind of get from wholesaling houses to rehabbing to renting to building a portfolio, then we have these other courses like our private money course, where it shows you from A to Z how to find private lenders, how to talk to them, what you need, your credibility packet, paperwork, to kind of show you how we did it. Because honestly, there's no secret to raising private money. It's just getting out there and networking. We join these groups, we're part of Collective Genius, because we know the power of investing in your network can, pay off. And so that's what you have to kind of look at it from that standpoint of private lenders are everywhere. You never know. You just need to kind of have good conversations, be curious about other people, and ask them questions like, hey, what kind of investments? That's that money question that always comes later after you kind of built some rapport, because they're going to ask, hey, what do you do? Oh, well, I help real estate investors. I help people get into real estate investing. How so? Well, then you can go down the path of private lending, or you can go down the path of, hey, I have this education community, But that's how it all came about. We created these basically to have better answers to questions that we're getting all the time. Hey, and then also we saw hey, if you build your personal brand and create this other stream of income from basically showing people every day what you do. Like today I did a live video because I'm just showing up on a move out. You know, I don't have to do this because my management team does that, but I think it'd be good content for my audience that follows me on my socials. So it's not necessarily like this big production as everybody kind of thinks like, oh man, you need to have the right camera angles and all this. No, you don't. You can just make a rough draft move, pick out your phone and start kind of recording or documenting your process. So, yeah, so now, you know, we've got a community. It's, if you want to learn about it, just go to our website, risewiththecream.com. And we have, you know, some people already doing deals in there, some new people like setting up their, you know, campaigns to get in front of motivated sellers. A lot of people driving for dollars, because that's the easiest way. You could do that today, is walk up and down your street or drive up and down your street. If you skateboard, you can skateboard up and down your street and look for houses that have bad roofs, bad windows, high grass. I mean, you could literally do this today. You don't need to get your LLC set up and think of a website. No, you could do what we're talking about, driving for dollars, looking for an abandoned home, skip tracing, finding out who owns that house and figuring out how you can get in front of that owner, which is what I like, is to pick up the phone and call them, you know?
Yeah. And we'll link to your site, your social, like everything we're talking about today. We'll throw in the links in the description here too. So people can make sure to keep in touch with you and follow up with you there. But yeah, I mean, it's funny, like where you're saying, hey, you don't need this huge production. You want to make it just authentic and real while you're out in the field. I mean, we're interview, you're literally in between properties right now. Everything that we make for DealMachine, we do it mobile first. Like I think that's one of our main differentiators just in the investing world period, is that everything we're creating is for people like you who are in the field and actually making things happen. They're bringing this with them everywhere. They're not just sitting at a desk all day. You know, they're out there and they're driving for dollars. They need comps on the go. They need to pull this on the go. They need to contact people, skip trace on the go, like whatever it is. So yeah, I'm with you on all that stuff. But one other question I want to ask too, because I know we only have a few more minutes today and I don't want to run over on you, but you've referenced how you've teamed up with Dave for nearly a decade now. Because you said you guys.
Yeah, we started. Yeah, 2012. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
About a decade.
Yeah, it's probably weird to hear, but do you going through that? I mean, I know it's been a little bit, but you know, what made you excited to team up with him? And then for other investors, like when they're thinking about partnering up, how do they evaluate and select a partner and find a partner and all of that?
Yeah, it's a good question. A lot of it comes down to when I had conversations with Dave before we even got into business together. I had known him for about 2 years, and you know, you get to know somebody after 2 years, right? And he'd been doing a lot of sales, and he was working for an education company and did like high ticket sales for them. And when we were talking about potentially buying up some houses, one of the things that I really liked about Dave is like the core values of like work ethic and, you know, coming from, you know, similar backgrounds as myself, you know, that already resonated with me. So you got to have somewhat of the same type of core values as a person. If you don't know what core values are, read what's that book, Rocket Fuel and Traction. Right, they'll go through the core values. And you know, we have core values in our company. So if you resonate with somebody and they have that same core values, that's step one. Step two is, what are they really good at? You know, he's good at sales. And at that point in time, I was looking for somebody that could do something that I wasn't really good at. You know, like I was able to produce sales in my wholesaling business, and he just had you know, he's one of the most amazing salespeople ever that I've ever encountered. And so I knew that he could, like, when you're looking at a partner, there's got to be some traits that they got to be really good at, and you're good at something different, right? So I'm a processes and vision guy, as well as, you know, being able to kind of, you know, build things and then get the right people in place to kind of work the system. He's very much an amazing networker, really good at sales, and also has a little bit of a vision too, right? And so when we decided, we're like, hey, let's buy some freaking houses here in Columbus, Ohio. I knew it was going to be a good, you know, partnership, because he's good at something that I'm not like the best at, and I excel here more so than that. And so when you have a partnership, you got to like you can't be very similar. You can have similar core values, but if you're good at sales and your partner's good at sales, that's not really a good partnership, because you need, behind the salesperson, you need to have somebody that's a little bit more detailed oriented, you know?
Yeah.
You need to have complementing, you know, traits. So that's what I recommend. And then also too, you know, there is a thing that, you know, you got to avoid, is like somebody bringing all the money. It really doesn't, like, someone's bringing all the money and then they expect that partner to do all the work. Those partnerships don't last. They might last for a season and then it's going to fizzle away, because the person doing all the work is going to feel like they're getting the shittier end of the deal. Apologize for that, but edit that out if you have to. But they're going to get like the short end of the stick, per se, because they're doing all the work. This takes work. Okay, this takes work. Even now, it's still taking work. Don't let those people fool you. Like, oh, I'm sitting on the back of of the jet and I have nothing to do. No, there's still stuff to do. Maybe different stuff, but there's still stuff to do.
Yeah.
That's why we got into this, because you know, it's challenging. Every day is different. So that's how that dynamic works. So I mean, you met Dave and you met me, but you probably see the difference with personalities. You know, recently people were telling me, man, I didn't know that you could. I didn't know you were out there on social like that. Well, yeah, I'm mainly like an introverted guy. I kind of, you know, keep to myself a lot, and I'm not as out there. But you know, you learn kind of like your own way of doing things, and you get comfortable with it. I would have never known that if I wouldn't have picked up the phone and started documenting all of the stuff that I'm doing, though, right, Matt? So it's like, yeah, start somewhere today. Get out and freaking go around your neighborhood and find a freaking rundown house. If that's what you want to do. It's not for people, it's not for everybody. You know, real estate investing is not for everybody. Might look sexy, but it takes work.
Yep. So. Well, I appreciate it, man. Like I you know, I always enjoy anytime we have a chance to chat, but and you know, excited about getting more involved with the Collective Genius stuff and seeing you there too. So again, thank you for coming on today. How can our audience get in touch with you and follow up with you and make sure that they're getting more involved with you if they want to?
Yeah, you can find me on TikTok. I'm at the real rjpepino, and then I'm also on IG, which is just rjpepino, and then you can go to my website, which is risewiththecream.com, and check us out there.
Perfect. Love it. Well, thanks again for coming on, man. I really enjoyed the conversation today and excited to do the next one with you.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. To everyone watching, again, this is Matt Camp with DealMachine, and happy deal finding.